Well, welcome to
Welcome.
day two.
Yeah, welcome to book two. Excited for this one. This is one of my personal top five favorites. Later on, as we keep going through this journey, when we hit some of the top five favorite books, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
actually do a series of five reflections, which is my intention with Sapiens later on. For today, we will be
Yes, Sapien is
discussing
a rather long book, so there's multiple takes you can learn from.
my top five favorite books aren't necessarily my top five favorite reads that I've ever had in my life. It's really the top five books I learned the most from through this whole journey. I can't wait to share some of my reflections from it. To kick this off, book two, as we talked about, is the book Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Sapiens just is a book that talks about humanity throughout the history of our species, from hunter-gatherer tribes to the agricultural revolution to new age enlightenment and science. It takes us through the whole progression of humanity and some of the most important fundamentals that our culture and our life is built on, and just the fundamentals of us a lot. It was, for me, it's one of my favorite books that I've learned the most from. I don't know about you, but I remember when I first like read this book and it was just chapter after chapter. It's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It just hits you in waves of new things you're learning that you never really thought about. In particular, today, the reflection I'm going to share was that our imagination is our superpower. There was a segment of this book where the author, Yuval Noah Harari, mentions, how humans are one of the only creatures in this world that can conjure up things that don't exist and that's outside of our biological limitations. You think of lions or dogs or other mammals and plants, every creature in this world, what they have at their ready, whether it be chlorophyll or for plants, the lion's ability to slap with their claws, hunt fast and kill. That's all that they have at their disposal. Evolution is how they got to where they got to, and they've adapted some very unique skills. Like I think I've heard like eagles or whatever have like sonar detection. And
Mhm.
that's sonar. They like can pinpoint where they're at and like, when they're flying, and they can like GPS. They have like GPS or something. Anyway, like
Mhm.
some amazing things that animals, in this world have, that like
Like the
beavers.
bat have echolocation,
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
they 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 ping sound just like sonar.
The adaptations of these animals over, millions and millions of years is truly remarkable. But humans as a species, one of our most important superpowers is we can take ideas and thoughts that are in our mind and turn them into things that didn't exist. We can literally create things from nothing. We do that through our ability to communicate our ideas through language, and then turn that language into culture and get other people like you and I are talking about this idea right now, where you
Mhm.
can understand what I'm saying. And it all started in an idea in my own head. I can write it
Mhm.
down, share it with you, and we can create the year of magical learning. This is something that a lion can't do, that a dog can't do. It's amazing and beautiful. It's something really cool that blew my mind. Our imagination truly is our superpower. It was something that hit me like a ton of bricks at a very vulnerable stage in my life. After losing my daughter, I was really searching for purpose and what is all this about? Having that knowledge that if I just use my imagination, I can think about anything I want to think about, and create some really beautiful things, helped me to rethink my life and helped to look at the situation with my daughter a little differently. And it helped me to find a path forward where I could turn that into something positive. So that's kind of my reflection and thoughts on my first reflection on Sapiens. Love to get your thoughts. What do you think?
I tend to agree, and to me, my takeaway from this reflection is that knowing that imagination is our superpower, made myself be aware of that more and use it more than I would have before. For me, I think of imagination as a superpower. It gives us the ability to adapt. That's different from another animal, for example, will lay eggs in another bird's nest, and the other birds are raising the cuckoos as their own, even though the cuckoo's chicks actually, pushes the real
Right.
babies off of the nest. But the animal couldn't help but follow the design of their pre-design.
Right.
What we have as humanity is we have the ability to go beyond design, because you and I can face a lion and basically obey our instinct and run, or we can stick together and hunt that lion,
Well,
that mammoth or whatever, and build a tribe, and so that's what makes us the world super animal among the animal kingdom. To me, that separates us from animals, because we do have reptilian brains, but on top of that, we also have the cerebral cortex that can evaluate its logic, whether we should even obey animal instinct brain. And so that's what I take away from this, knowing that imagination and ability is my superpower. I look back through my life and say, well, I didn't use that as much as I should,
Yeah.
but now I
Yeah.
know. So I have been using more and as much as I could. So to me, it makes me, in my mind, a better person going forward.
Yeah. 100% agree. The author, Yuval Noah Harari, mentioned something that's always stuck with me too around that similar thought that you were talking about with the animals. We're not that remarkable, really. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. There's nothing really
Exactly.
remarkable
We
about
lose
us
to
as
the
an animal.
cheetah, we
So
lose to a crocodile, we lose to the gorilla in terms of any kind of attribute you want to measure. We don't own any particular characteristic.
what we do own is this ability to completely see a world that they can't see and to somehow turn that into a reality that they can never
Mm.
do. He mentioned in the book somehow along the evolutionary spectrum, as things were stacking up and people were falling in line from
Mhm.
top to bottom, we were middle of the pack, and all of a sudden we just leapfrogged everybody, right?
Yeah,
And that big leapfrog came from our ability to imagine a new world that didn't
yeah,
exist before. I
yeah.
see things so differently these days. I look around at the houses and I'm like, man, why is each room the way that each room is? Somebody had to imagine these things. Like, why are the roads the way they are? Why are our cities designed the way that they're designed? Why did we do this? All these things just came from an idea from somebody at one point in
Mhm.
time that we turned into a reality. It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty cool. We don't have anything above anybody else other than our ability to see
We have
something
the
that doesn't exist.
ability
Yeah.
to override our animal instinct. We can look at fear in the face and triumph over it. If you have an animal instinct, you're going to do what you're designed to do. If you know you're not strong enough, you're gonna run, you're gonna fold, you're
Right.
gonna belly up and surrender to the alpha male. But as human, we can either follow our animal instinct or we can overcome it. We can override the design. And that's is what made it make us dangerous,
Yeah. And
right?
I don't know. I don't know
And
how.
the thing is if we don't think about our superpower and we don't use it enough, we are basically letting our primitive brain controls us. Even though we hate the job, we still do it. But
Right.
if imagination is our superpower, you can think from a different perspective and say, how can I change it? How can I solve this problem?
Right.
You have
Everything's
the ability
possible.
to do that. The
Yep.
animals don't.
Everything's possible, right? He started talking about religions made up from somebody's imagination. Our nation states are everything. You look around you, our laws, our corporations. Like I mean, you started to frame that lens and in that new paradigm, and you're like, oh shit, everything is completely made up, and that's okay.
Completely made
Like
up. Yeah.
right? It's really cool. We accept it as our reality. One of the things along this whole journey that's always been really interesting for me is, and you mentioned this before, when you're young, your imagination runs wild, right? Like you're
Yeah.
you're constantly thinking about things from a different perspective and asking unique questions and exploring things you should be exploring. As we get older, we start to think we actually know something about this world, and the truth
Mhm.
is we don't know. And then that's when our imagination goes away. When you start to think you actually know something that's facts and that's real, that's definitive, we should be scared because there really are no experts in this world because this is all made up anyway.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So anyway, it's a unique book, great book. I would recommend it to anybody. I assume you would feel the same, right?
Yes, thumbs up for me too. I mean, this book give you kind of takes you and make you think about the thing we do and say, why do we do it? And it kind of go into a lot of the history of how we become and kind of give you a lot more evidence of certain things that do that it's just beyond the design of the way the animal is designed to behave.
Yeah. I think it's important to know yourself, know where you came from, and know your species. I think it's interesting. So the question we can leave any listener with today is, when was the last time you used your own imagination? If it's been a while, I would highly encourage you tap into that superpower. If you use it all the time, keep it going.
We
So
love to hear your thoughts on it.
thank you all for joining today. We'll see you
We'll see you
tomorrow.
next time.